Hey everyone, this is Derek here, and welcome to your daily dose of PUBG Mobile. Today we're going to be talking about perfecting the long jump, that is, jumping from the plane and floating more than 2,000 meters to your target. And this is super useful if you want to reach a location that is off the plane's flight path by more than the usual amount. And this almost ensures that no one's going to follow you because unless they're using this method, well, they're not going to reach you from the plane. So I did a video on a method a couple days ago that is the fastest way that I know of how to get to the ground for distances between 500 to 1,000 meters from the plane's flight path. And many of you affectionately named it the dab method or the sideways jump method. So basically, once you jump from the plane, you tilt your virtual joystick either right or left, and you'll float down at about 170 meters. And this method works so well because you actually go pretty quickly in the horizontal direction as you're also falling through the vertical direction. So it's definitely very, very useful to use in a arcade mode game, or if you're landing in a popular location like school. So what we'll be looking at now, though, is what if we want to reach somewhere that's farther off the flight path and probably not accessible through any other drop method. So let's take a look at Prison. Prison, as you can see, is pretty far south from the current flight path, about 2,000 meters or so, which means that you're not going to be able to reach it unless you use this method or use a similar method. And on that subject, if you have an even better way to jump long distances, definitely let me know in the comments below, because I'm pretty sure that this is the method that grants you the most distance right now. And that might change with future updates, but right now we're on 0.4.0, and this appears to be the best method to reach those crazy long distances. So even though this method is capable of 2,200 meters or so if you do it right, still going to have to wait a while because we're still about 2,600 meters away. So we'll wait until we're almost perpendicular with the plane's current flight path. There's almost a 90-degree angle, and that will give us the best opportunity. You can see we're down to about 1,900 or so now, but this is my first attempt at this method, and I'm not doing it perfectly. So basically, you should be floating at 116 kilometers per hour, and you want to be floating in a direction. So you want to either be around on your clock, on your virtual joystick there. You want to either be around 2 o'clock, 1:30, 2 o'clock, or around 10:30, 11 o'clock. So basically, you want to be forward and then to either side by just a little bit. And what that's going to allow you to do is float in at an angle, which allows you to get more horizontal distance as you're losing vertical distance. So you can see here that we are now just about 250 meters away from the marker, and that allows us to just float in right now. So once you open your parachute, remember, just keep that virtual joystick all the way forward and then float in right to your marker. So you can see here we're just about to hit it. I marked the roof of the prison. However, I don't think I had the elevation to get that, so instead what I'll do is I'll settle for these warehouses. And I didn't look behind me here. I should have. It's always a good idea. But there was no one else around, honestly. I wasn't too concerned about that. So what we'll do now is we'll take a look at another example. And this one, I do a better job even of demonstrating the method, because if you do this poorly, you'll get about 2,000 meters. If you do it really well, you'll get about 2,150 to 2,200. Which, like I said, is further than any other method I know of right now. So we'll look at this again. I'm going to go for Pochinki, which is usually a very, very common drop spot. However, the plane's flight path is pretty far north of Pochinki, so it makes sense that there wouldn't be that many people dropping there this time. It looks like a lot more people are probably going to go for the school or the apartments next to the school. That would be my guess. So once again, we're counting down the distance. You can see we're down to 2,200, 2,100, 2,070. So you can see this time we were just about 2,100 meters away or so from the marked location when I jumped. And this is why it's important to mark your locations accurately. Here, we're just aiming for Pochinki, so as long as I end up somewhere in the town, because the town's pretty far away, then I'll consider this a success. So I'm using the look tool there. You can see I'm floating in forward and also off to the side, but not as much as if I used the sideways drop method, which means about 170 kilometers per hour, which is a lot faster. And that's why you get on the ground faster using that method. However, you also can't get as far because you're losing height too quickly. So here we go. We are at the marker. We're about 300 meters off of it when I open the parachute, which means if I floated in straight towards the marker, I'll end up being about 50 meters short. So this is a good example of right around 2,000 meter jump, maybe 2075, somewhere around there. So you can see here, I was going for this 2-story here. Take a look around and we'll start looting up. No one else behind me, of course, because again, unless you're using this method, it's very, very difficult to get this far on a jump from the plane. So I think we will take a look at one more example, just so you can get a better feel for how well this method actually works. I'm just going to go ahead and loot up this building here. You can see we got some pretty good loot here. We've got extended quick draw, which I just missed. There we go. And we've got a SCAR, which we can use it on, as well as a ton of 5.56 and another SCAR just for good measure. So we'll take a look at one more example of this method. And as I said, so for distances, shorter distances, like in arcade mode, or if you're up to about 1,000 meters away or so, remember, you want to use that sideways method because that's going to get you on the ground first and give you that 4 to 5 second advantage over other players. But if you want to reach a location like this, we're going for the warehouse, the multi-factory basically. It's a warehouse southwest of the power plant itself. And this is just about 2,000 meters away. It's around 1950 or so, so I should be able to easily reach it with this method, which you will see I will be able to. And if you're doing this correctly, you'll be falling at about 116 kilometers per hour, and that just allows you more time in the air to be able to float over to where you want to go. So you can see here, I'm about 2 o'clock right now on the virtual joystick, if you imagine that is a clock face. And as long as you're somewhere between, like I said, like 1 and 2, you should be good, or 10 and 11 on the other side if you're floating the other direction. So you can see here, we are overshooting our marker. We're only 100 meters away from the marker right now, which means we could have floated 150 meters past it, which would be a drop of around 50 to 2,100 meters, which is about what you'll get with this method. So what I'm gonna have to do instead is I'll have to circle around because I want to land on the roof, which is always a good idea if you're dropping here. And we'll see what we can get. We've got a 4x scope right away. That is pretty sweet. We got extended mag. We've got a Car 98K, so we've got a 4x and a car right away. And I did a loot highlight location on this one already as an underrated drop spot, and boy, is it a good drop spot. I know people sort of get angry when I say this is a good drop spot because other people are going to drop here, but don't worry, there are a ton of other good drop spots that I'm going to be highlighting in future videos. So I'm sure whatever popularity this place is getting from that video or this one will probably die out in a couple days when I release something else. So hopefully, at least, because I enjoy this spot too. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. That is the way to reach a very, very long distance of 2,000 to 2,100 meters, 2,200 if you do it perfectly. That means no adjusting. So basically, because you're not flying in a straight line, you have to line up so that you're flying into the target. Basically, if you're dropping sideways, you can line up 90 degrees to the target and float in. There's a 416, pretty sweet. If you are using this method, though, you're going to have to line up around I said like a 2 o'clock angle or so. So it sounds confusing. It's hard to explain in video, but basically if you try it out, like anything, as you try out this method more and more, you'll get better at it and you'll get more used to doing it. But it's very important that you don't adjust too much in the air for that maximum distance, because every time you adjust, that's horizontal distance you wasted. There's a pan, sweet. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. If you have any questions on this method, definitely leave them below and I'll try to help you out too, because like I said, this isn't the easiest one to explain. And I think this is going to be the last one that we talk about unless some other cool drop method comes around, because at this point we're using, an 8x scope. Holy cow. 8 times, sweet. So we got a Car 98 with a 8 times coming out of our initial loot spot. Anyways, so for very long distances of around 2,000 to 2,100 meters, or even 1,500 to 2,000, this is the method you want to use, because this is the only method that will really get you there reliably. If you want a shorter distance of around 1,000 to 1,500 meters, I recommend that you either use this method or you use the vertical, or the horizontal and then vertical method, which I'll also link below, which I made a video about a couple weeks ago. And then for your shorter than 1,000 meter method, or shorter than 1,000-meter distance, you want to use the sideways dab method because that is the fastest way to get on the ground in that situation. If you're under 500 meters, you can generally just drop straight down and then float in, and that'll be the fastest way. So hopefully this video helped you out. If it did, if you enjoyed it, definitely give it a thumbs up to help the channel grow. It's exciting to see another spurt of growth in the last couple days on this channel. We are at the time of filming this, we're getting shot from somewhere. We're at around 7,000 subscribers now, which is just absolutely awesome and super, super cool to see. So if you're not subscribed to the channel, definitely consider doing that too for tons more PUBG Mobile tricks, tips, updates, strategy guides, and a whole lot more. So my name's Derek G, and I hope to see you on the battlefield soon or in my Discord server, which I'll also link below.